When I arrived at the gas station for my first shift, the place looked pretty normal. It was one of those independent branded gas stations, called a generic Star Gasoline and clearly family-owned. It was a bit run down but serviceable, and only one car was pumping gas at the time. The gas tanks were illuminated by a single, yellow light hanging in the middle, cast shadows in all four directions. Like a compass dial, the actual convenience store portion of the was typical. The glass windows were plastered with bleached advertisements for cigarettes, energy drinks, and 2 hot dogs for 99 cents. Deal. A bell rang as I pushed open the door, the convenience store door, and was greeted by the smell of slightly old hot dogs that had been sitting under a heat lamp all day. I looked over. I saw that there was no one at the counter, but a lady who looked like she was in her 50s waved at me from the back of the store as she was sweeping up. The store was a bit larger than a typical gas station convenience store. The interior was what you would expect, except for one thing. There was a clock and an old TV screen lined up on each side of the room, showing security camera footage of the gas pumps. It seemed unnecessary. Also, the owners did not aim the security cameras very well, and it was mostly footage of between the gas pumps in the store, instead of centering the gas pumps in the middle. Hi there. You must be Alex. I was taken out of my thoughts and looking forward. I know my husband originally interviewed you. We've been trying to find someone to do the night shift for months, and I dare say I'm getting too old to stay up so late. But you're young, so you'll be fine. She wiped her hands on her trousers before reaching out to shake mine. I'm in. Nice to meet you. You can put your things behind the counter, and I'll show you around. I know you've worked at a gas station before, so I won't bore you. We just needed someone who could follow directions. Directions? The little lady moved fast for someone her size. She seemed eager to get me started so she could finally go home and enjoy a normal sleep schedule. Cleaning supplies are back here in this closet. Mops and brooms are on the left. The bathroom is on the right. It's just a single toilet room. I looked inside. The bathroom was just exactly what I expected a gas station bathroom to look like. The walls were all scratched up by druggies, probably scribbling their initials all over them. And the tiles had a nasty brown stain from years of use. But at least it smelled clean, like bleach, and there was hand soap, which wasn't always a guarantee when I used a gas station bathroom. I'll give you a list of cleaning chores later, and when to do them, since you're closing up. Finally, she led me back to the front, showed me how to use the cash register and the debit card machine, and we were almost done. She reached into her pockets and pulled out a set of keys. These are the keys to lock up. One for the front door and one for the back door. Next to her chair at the register, there's a yellow list of cleaning chores. The most important one is the red one. She pointed to the bright red paper next to the cash register. Read it and memorize it, and you'll have no problems. Thank you, I'll read it. Did you bring a good watch like I told you? Yes, I did. Even though it looks like you have so many watches in here, I feel like I don't really. Do you need this watch to tell the time? Oh no, you'll definitely need it. Trust me, you have another one. 15 minutes before your shift starts. Go sit down and start working on some of these assignments, and keep it with you for a few days. You'll know them by heart soon enough. I don't need it anymore. I learned it fast. She picked up her bags from behind the counter and left. There were no more customers, and it was relatively quiet. It was almost 10 p.m. There weren't even any cars passing by on the road outside this small town. I looked outside again at the lone gas station light. It flickered occasionally in the distance. The light illuminated long shadows of the gas pumps. All 4 shadows were cast in the same direction towards the convenience store, almost as if they were crawling toward the building. Parallel. I picked up the 2 instruction sheets. Both were laminated and printed on cardstock, and a little dirty from use, probably because many employees had to refer to them often. The yellow sheet didn't seem all that interesting, just a lot of mundane tasks. like mopping up and taking out the... At the end of the night, the red sheet, however, had blocks of text on it. Welcome to Star Gas Station. This is your night shift handbook. Please follow all instructions carefully. It is important that you are on time and provide the quality of service that our customers have come to expect even during the late night hours. We seek peace and harmony with our neighbors, day and night. A clean store with busy employees is a happy and busy store. 2. Spend most of your time in the lighted part of the store, unless otherwise necessary. Half of the lights are always off. 3. Turn off half the lights in the store before 10 p.m. It does not matter which half of the store you keep lit, but whatever you choose, keep it that way for the rest of the night. If you turn off all the lights, it makes the store look closed. You will need the unlit part of the store later. For when you need to use the bathroom, keep the door cracked so that you can. The security footage on the TV monitors. 5. During the night, you may notice puddles of water and heavy dust on the floor and table surfaces in various locations. Try to clean them up if you can, with the mops and dusters provided. Puddles and dust make the store look abandoned and unkempt and attract attention. A clean store is a happy store. We recommend patrolling the store occasionally to check for water or dust that you may have overlooked. Remember to check the employee break room. 6. At approximately 12 a.m. or earlier, prepare the mop bucket with water and soap. At 1205, go to the back of the store, to the refrigerated beverage aisle, and mop the aisle continuously until 12:25 a.m. Do not leave this aisle or stop mopping until the specified time. For any reason, you may feel that something is watching you, and a strong desire to leave the hallway and hide. Do not give in to this urge. Act normal and show no signs of fear. You may walk back and forth down the aisle until the time is up. Management recommends that you keep your head down, keep an eye on your watch, and wear headphones with music to help you block out sound. The quality of your mopping is not important. What is important is that you look busy at work. 7. On the walls next to the cash register is a camera feed from the backlit. This is different from the other camera feeds. You do not need to check this feed too often, just once every 30 minutes, at the top and bottom of the hour, at any time during the night. If you see a shadowy figure standing in front of the camera feed and stares directly at you into the camera, calmly and slowly duck under the counter so that you can no longer see this particular screen. We call him Fred. Wait 5 minutes and use the provided compact mirror under the cash register to check indirectly if Fred is still there. If he is still there, continue checking every 5 minutes until he leaves. This will only happen if you have not been busy enough, or if the store is dirty. You can see Fred standing right at the front of the grocery store. If so, stop what you are doing and do not acknowledge his presence. But calmly, crouch behind one of the aisles in the unlit section and make noise by rearranging and moving snack bags and drinks around. Do not get up again. You want him to hear you, not see you. He will not want to bother you if you seem busy. You can look through the shelves to see if he is still there, but be careful. 9. Last but not least, these are the main rules. We usually only have one local neighbor, Fred, to visit every night, but on very rare, unfortunate occasions, there are more of them. Unfortunately, only Fred is relatively harmless. As long as you obey the rules, the other foreign visitors are not. There are several TV monitors on all walls of the store. If at any time in the parking lot, you see the 4 shadows of the pump all pointing in the same direction, this is a bad omen. It means that out-of-town visitors are nearby, and it is best to leave. 10. You have a few minutes. Drop what you are doing. Run to the staff back room and find a large light switch panel on the back wall. Turn off each switch to cut off all power to the store. This will make the store look closed, and the visitors can leave to look for another establishment. This upsets Fred, who is a local, but it helps to keep out-of-town visitors from coming in. Enter the storage room on the right. Lock and bolt the door. Put your phone on silent and send Anna a text message. Do not try to leave. Several visitors can enter the store. Fred will also enter the store now that it appears to be closed. But he should not find you if you stay still. You can take a nap for the rest of the night, as long as you do not snore. If all goes well, we will pick you up in the morning and pay you triple your pay for the trouble. Ice ran through my fingers. As I reread, one line stood out. Panicked, I looked up at the nearest monitor, and the shadows were so elongated that they were basically into the store, but there were no shadowy figures inside. Yet, I started to shake. There was no way this list was real, but I clearly remembered the shadows being in a compass formation. When I first arrived, the sun had already set, and unless this singular could somehow shift positions, there is no way to explain the shadows suddenly changing to stand parallel to each other. Blood drained from my face, and I looked at the clock. It had taken me a while to read the list, but maybe I had a minute left. Break room, back wall panel, storage room, medallion and lock. Call and then keep quiet. I sprinted out from behind the counter and ran to the back room. I quickly found the light panel and slammed my hands down on all the switches and blacked out the store. My hand fumbled for my cell phone flashlight as I grabbed the walls to find the storeroom door and pulled myself in. Couldn't see a thing except for the narrow beam of my cell phone flashlight, but I managed to lock the door with my nervous fingers. Then I found boxes to hide behind. My heart was pounding. I wasn't sure if this was all a joke, but it couldn't hurt to call and ask her what on earth was going on. I dialed her number and heard the dial tone of a phone call. I tried to get through. I hope she picks up. It seemed to take forever. Hello? I couldn't believe she actually picked up. I immediately asked her if the red instruction was real, in a stream of panicked words. I also explained the shadows that were all pointing in the same direction towards the store, and demanded to know if I was in any real danger. Sorry I didn't tell you, honey. That last one almost never happens. It has only happened a couple of times in the last 2 years. You were just really unlucky. It seems like you did almost everything right, though. I breathed a sigh of relief. Just stay inside and take it easy. We'll get you in the morning, honey. I was still in a panic, but that reassurance relaxed me enough to collapse against the wall and get ready for the night. However, just as I was about to hang up the phone, a thought popped into my head. Did she say I was doing almost everything right? I felt something beside me. The voice was no longer coming from my cell phone. It was right next to my ear. You were supposed to text her. That wasn't me on the phone. I felt my face going white. I asked her how this was possible. That phone call I made while I was in the storage room sounded so real. I even heard a dial tone. Oh, I know this sounds crazy, honey. Don't look at me like that. Sit down. And sat me down. And I asked her a bunch of questions, but she didn't answer all of them. According to her, shadowy beings like Fred can imitate voices and sounds they've heard. She said that's why one of the rules for mopping the soda aisle at 12:05 a.m. is to listen to music with headphones. When she did it, sometimes she would hear what sounded like her husband calling her name from the parking lot, or her son knocking on the back door, saying he had to come in. But her husband knows not to come home at night, and her son doesn't live in that town anymore. Another time, when she was working the night shift, sounded like her cell phone was ringing in her pocket. She was in the middle of mopping the floor. Out of habit, she absent-mindedly picked it up, but then a realization and fear filled her. Her cell phone is always on silent, so it couldn't have been ringing. She never made that mistake again, and apologized for not being about the details of the job. She said, after seeing and doing this job for so many years, She took the small details for granted, and didn't think that a new person wouldn't know the little tidbits and tips that she's picked up from experience. I didn't accept her apology, and that last part seemed like an excuse. She and her husband deliberately left out those details in the job description. My mind flashed back to when I got the job, and thought it was strange that Anne's husband only interviewed me over the phone, and didn't seem to want to meet me in person before making me the offer. At the time, I chalked it up to desperation. I would have left and never come back if it weren't for my curiosity. I really wanted to know if it was all real, or if I was on the craziest psychedelic trip in the world, without doing any drugs, and told me that she'd had a few employees who stayed over the 20-plus years that she and her husband owned the gas station. She usually tried to get the locals. They were familiar with the strange supernatural around them. They don't happen to everyone, but to some. However, as the townspeople grew older, many of their children left town and moved elsewhere as soon as they could. I asked and why she and her husband didn't just leave town and move somewhere else? Or why not just close the gas station before nightfall and avoid the whole night's charade altogether? She said she couldn't. Her husband inherited the station from his father. It's an old town, and all the original buildings, strange, happen when they deviate too much from the way they were 50 years ago, because this gas station was originally a late-night gas station for trucks that came through town at night. Something wanted it to stay that way. Her husband had younger siblings, but in order for them to leave town and live a normal life, someone had to take on the role of the family's owner, gas station, and it fell to him as the oldest. At one point, her husband tried to give up the gas station and close it down. But misfortune and near-death, freak accidents began to happen around the family. When he reopened the gas station and resumed normal he stopped. The big question you probably want to know is how. I'm still here typing this report for you. I have no memory whatsoever. After hearing Fred speak in my ear in the storage room later, when I woke up, I was lying face up in the staff break room. Light streamed in from the front of the store, and I realized it was daylight. Long story short, I didn't die that night at the gas station. Neither did my predecessors in this job, apparently, and says that others have mysteriously disappeared during their shifts, probably because they made a mistake, and doesn't know if they died, or something else happened to them. And her husband thought it was easy to fire me. Easy. She had let another employee go easy before, but took his leg, as if it took his leg off cleanly. He technically survived the encounter, but he died in the middle of the night from bleeding to death, while blacked out. Obviously, both Anne and her husband survived by making more than once, probably because they had inherited the gas station and had to run it. I wasn't sure if I should believe them. I tried to ask for the names of the former employees, but Anne refused, citing privacy of the families involved. She can't stop me from Googling missing persons reports, although I'm sure in a town this small, it would be all over the papers and the town talk. Anyway, I should tell you all, I didn't come out of it completely unscathed. The ear where I heard Fred speak was now deaf, although she was a little uncooperative and a little skittish, a little sketchy. She looked at me with concern when she realized that I was deaf in one ear. As a result of working that shift, she revealed that the reason that she had been working the night shift for the past was because her husband had gone completely blind. He had accidentally fallen asleep while working during the night shift. He woke up the next morning, shaken by Anne. It was a bright, sunny day, but he asked her why the lights were still out, and was getting older herself, and she was worried that one day she would fall asleep. She also needed a replacement, and maybe that's why lived instead of mysteriously disappearing. I'm not sure if that was the truth or a threat. The next thing I wanted to know was who or what the hell Fred was, and shook her head and told me that was a story for another day. Another day, not now. You're tired from the shock. Go home and rest." I refused and asked her again about Fred. I demanded my right to know what almost killed me. She shook her head vigorously. She started to, shooing me out the door of the gas station. "I'll tell you another time. You can take the rest of the week off. But I need you back on Monday." "What Monday? This lady thinks I'm coming back." Before I could push my way back into the store, and quickly locked it to keep me from bothering her. And even though it was still business hours, as she walked away ignoring me, I commented under my, "Fred wouldn't like that." She locked the door. Fine. Confused, and my head swimming with more questions than answers. I turned around to go back to my car and drive home. I had the doctor check my left ear, and she told me that the eardrum was blown out and could not be repaired. I might get some hearing back, but would not regain full functionality. Since then, I tried to apply for many different local jobs after that, because I was determined not to come back. There was no way I was ever coming back, because this gas station is crazy and not worth dying over. But for some reason, whenever I visited companies that I applied to in person, I always got turned down right away. They would say that I wasn't qualified for the job, even though I was well qualified. Or they would say that the job was already taken or filled, which made me skeptical. For some of these jobs, the job was just posted the same day. I also followed some job ads and sent an email with my resume, but almost immediately, I received several messages that were not delivered, bounce backs or errors, saying that the email recipient did not exist, or was unreachable. Had I misspelled the email address somehow? I have a friend from another city applying for the same jobs and reply to the same emails, but his went through just fine. Then, he tried to apply for things on my behalf, using my resume, but he was inexplicably rejected right away. It did not take long for me to put two and two together. Something wanted me to stay. The last few nights confirmed it. It started the first night, the day after the gas station incident. My bedroom clock read 10:30 p.m., and I was standing in front of my mirrored closet door. That was when I saw it. A shadowy silhouette was barely visible through my opaque curtains. The edges weren't solid like a real person, backlit by the streetlights outside. It was blurred, and the whole figure was almost transparent. It wasn't moving, but it was facing me. I froze. I live in a small town nearby. This was not the same town where Anne's gas station was in. Something was following me home. I froze too long because after about 10 seconds, the light in my room suddenly went out. You could hear a pin drop in the silence that followed. I was afraid to turn around, and felt the sensation of ice crawling over my scalp. I blinked and the silhouette was larger, as if it had come closer. If it had a face, it would be right against my window. All my senses screamed at me not to move. I forced my frozen muscles to jerk awake, and ran to the bathroom connected to my bedroom, and made a noisy show of washing my face, splashing water, and brushing my teeth, as if getting ready for bed. In the frenzy, I knocked over my ceramic toothbrush holder and shattered it on the floor with a loud crash. Fear coursed through me. I was afraid that I would die at any moment. I hoped I had made the right decision. However, death had not come for me, not yet. As I noisily brushed my teeth and splashed water around in the sink, I gradually felt the icy dread leave me, but I kept up the charade for a few more minutes. Eventually, a feeling of loneliness washed over me, and I wondered if the presence had left me alone. I cautiously used my cell phone camera to check the bedroom window. The figure was gone. I went to bed, but did not sleep much that night. Since that first night, the figure has visited me every night, watching me through the curtains. I thought about getting darker curtains to block it out completely, but fear of not being able to see it approach and be attacked without knowing it. So I decided against it, even though it was scary and gave me a heart attack every night. I finally figured out that if I went to bed and kept still, like I was asleep before 10 p.m., it would come and check on me. and leave without incident. Anyway, as the days draw closer to next Monday, when I was supposed to go back to work at the gas station, I am having more and more bad luck. Every day my car won't start. Things are strangely misplaced. I lost my keys, then found them later thrown in some bushes. The last straw was when the front door of my apartment was suddenly stuck in an unlocked position, despite being in good working order. I remembered that the gas station's red sign said to lock the door. Being chased by the shadowy figures, I didn't take any chances. I bought a cheap deadbolt and put it on the door. I will go back to the gas station on Monday for a shift. I want all this crazy stuff to stop. I haven't been eating well because of the constant, crushing pressure of fear and anxiety that something is going to happen to me any second now. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. Or any suggestions on how to make Monday's shift perfect. It feels like there are too many things to keep track of. But I think when Anne and her husband learned to do it almost every night for years, I could do it too. Until then, I just remember to act natural. Don't be afraid. I am a normal and good citizen. I will go back to work. A busy citizen is a good citizen.